Alrighty, for these last two requirements that I've got to talk about, I'm really excited about the first one because I have a really good example to show you. Describe and discuss with your counselor the special reverse designs of the quarter, half dollar, and dollar coin struck in 1975-76 to honor the U.S. bicentennial. So, again, sticking with the theme of, we hit certain milestones, we release certain coins. So, before I show, the generic stuff, uh, a half dollar is a half dollar. The dollar coin during that time period was a Ike dollar, which, just to, compare it to other things, here's a normal size quarter. Uh, it's still sticking with the, we're going to make it about the same size as, say, like a Morgan dollar. But, then comparing it to, a modern $1 coin, they're a little bit bigger than a quarter. So I have the Denver Mint from that year. And yes, this is how they would send you coins. Just they're prepackaged in some plastic that's heat sealed, so each coin is separated. And these ones are toning a good bit. I can see that the copper is, kind of getting a little green on it. Here is the Philadelphia Mint. And so the penny, the dime, and the nickel, there's nothing fancy about them. But on the reverses, they have, specific designs, which for the dollar and the half dollar, I'm going to have to show you these ones. We're going to have to deal with some glare. For the quarters, I've got some sitting here. So the first design thing about them is on the date of this, it says 1776 to 1976. It's one of the few coins that have more than one date on them. Set it down. On the reverse, we have a Continental Drummer, and it says $quarter on it. So we'll show him up, and even a coin outside of the case, picking up some glare. But we have a Continental Drummer. On the back of the dollar coin, if I hold it just right, we can clearly see the Liberty Bell, and there's a picture of the moon. So, U.S. achievements, we went to the moon not too long before they made these coins. And then on the back of the half dollar, which is upside down, we have Independence Hall. It says 200 years of freedom, and they even put Independence Hall on there for us. The detailing on the coin, for the dollar, it even shows, craters in the moon. They have the crack in the Liberty Bell. On the quarter, I can see the tips of the drumstick and ribbing and, the buttons on his shirt. There's a fold in his hat. So we took 3 coins that year and made a special design for them. And that was the only year that they did it, or, 75 and 76 were the only years that they made those coins. And so they are, fairly collectible, which I think that's why they say just talk about them. We've got, I should also mention that they did make silver versions of these coins as well. There are some errors within the coins. Just coin value. Some have no mint mark. D mint mark, S mint mark. There's a proof. There's a deep cameo. And they essentially say the values of these range between 25 cents and $8,500. I seriously doubt I have the $8,500 coin. In mint state 60 to 70, the silver coin can be worth $8,500. I don't think I have a silver version of this coin. So those are, what made those years special. Um, these can be picked up, for $5 to $10 if it's something that you're interested in adding to your coin collection. The last requirement, number 6, because we've already recorded requirement 7, is probably, something that we learn. I mean, we learn about this stuff in elementary school. That is the denominations of the currency and who is on them. So, who's on the $1 bill? George Washington. We've got Thomas Jefferson on the $2 bill, Abraham Lincoln on the 5, Alexander Hamilton on the 10, Thomas Jefferson, no, I'm not going to say that again. On the 20 is Andrew Jackson. On the 50 is U.S. Grant. And on the $100 bill is Benjamin Franklin. Explain where U.S. currency is printed. Fort Worth, Texas. That's, the closest anything of this is to me. That's only a few hour drive. So, like I explained in requirement 7, if you can check out these places, it's kind of interesting to look at it. I only bring that up because I have visited, the printing in Fort Worth, Texas. They let you kind of look around. And you can even buy sheets of money because, this isn't part of the requirement. But our money comes out in a giant sheet and then they cut them into the individual bills. Not something that I've done before. But, if that's what you're interested in, that's what you're interested in. So, you go check out the video for requirement 7. Make sure you are doing the stuff, when it says do this thing, explain this thing, make sure you are writing it down, taking notes, having these discussions with your counselors, and we'll get these requirements knocked out. So go check out the next one.